Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today. Okay, tell me if this scenario sounds completely familiar. You fire up your favorite AI chatbot, you type in a question you really need help with, hit enter, and what you get back is just a massive wall of text that is technically correct but completely, utterly lifeless. It's dry, it's super generic, and you just kind of look at it thinking, well, that didn't really help me at all, right? We have literally all been there. But today, we are going to fix that for good. We are diving deep into the fascinating art of context in prompt engineering, specifically looking at some really incredible Phase 2 techniques that will instantly transform your AI outputs from robotic to remarkable. Let's get into it.
So, first things first, why exactly do AI answers sound so robotic in the first place? Well, to understand the solution, we really need to understand the problem. When you ask an AI to do something without giving it any specific context, it kind of just has to guess what you want. And because these models are trained on just vast, mind-boggling amounts of data, they naturally default to a very safe, average mode. It becomes neutral, highly encyclopedic, and adopts this slightly formal tone aimed at a general adult audience. It's basically playing it safe so it doesn't accidentally offend or confuse anybody. But, as you probably know, average is rarely what we actually need when we're trying to solve a specific problem.
Just think about the sheer contrast between asking for a task alone versus a task layered with context. Your task simply tells the AI what to do. Without context, boom, you get that generic vanilla response. But the moment you layer in context, you define a very specific lens through which the AI interprets the task. The result? A response that actually fits your exact situation perfectly. You can think of context as the scaffolding you build around your request to give it some actual flavor, or a soul.
And that actually brings us to a quote from our source material that brilliantly illustrates our core concept for today. Think of context as the stage directions in a play. The script, which is your task, is important, but the lighting, the era, and the actor's motivation, the context, define the performance. I absolutely love this metaphor. To get a true masterpiece out of an AI, you really have to stop acting like a passive search engine user and step right up into the director's chair. You aren't just asking for information anymore, you are directing a scene. So, here is our director's call sheet. 1. Casting the AI speaker. 2. Knowing your target audience. 3. Setting tone and style. 4. Framing the perspective. And 5. The ultimate prompt.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Casting the AI Speaker, the who.
When you define the speaker, you are doing something incredibly powerful. You are narrowing the AI's vast, overwhelming database down to a specific, focused intellectual framework. Take a look at these attributes. You can define the speaker's knowledge level. Are they a world-class expert, or are they willfully ignorant? You can define their social role. Are they a supportive mentor, a harsh critic, or maybe a tour guide? What about trustworthiness? You can actually tell the AI to be honest but limited in its knowledge, or, and this is wild, deliberately deceptive. And finally, the stakes. What does the speaker actually want? Do they want to warn, sell, console, or impress? If you tell the AI to act as a supportive life coach, it prioritizes a soft landing. But if you tell it to act as a drill sergeant, it prioritizes blunt efficiency.
Now, here is where we get into some truly next-level nuance. You can actually give your AI speaker a specific flaw or blind spot. Just listen to this prompt. You are a brilliant surgeon who is terrible at small talk and secretly dismisses non-surgical treatments. Think about how dramatically that changes the AI's vocabulary, its assumptions, and its mental models compared to just asking, hey, explain this medical procedure. It literally forces the AI into a highly specific, incredibly human character. It's an absolute game changer, especially for creative writing, role-playing, or stress testing your ideas.
Moving right along to Section 2, Knowing your target audience, the whom.
Let's say your task is something really simple, like explain how a bicycle works. If you tell the AI its audience is a 5-year-old, you're going to get something like, push the pedals, big wheels go round, it's easy, right? But if you tell the AI the audience is a mechanical engineer, it instantly shifts gears to discussing advanced formulas, power transfer, and leverage. The underlying facts haven't changed at all, but the depth of the explanation, the jargon used, the pacing, it all shifts fundamentally based entirely on who is listening.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that combining the speaker and the audience creates a real, tangible, communicative situation. Look at this remarkable use case from our sources. Your audience is a jury that has already decided the defendant is guilty. You are the defense attorney trying to plant reasonable doubt without directly attacking their intelligence.
Notice how this defines a very distinct power dynamic and an emotional state. The audience is hostile, the speaker is trying to gently, carefully persuade. That is how you get incredibly rich, highly useful outputs.
All right, section 3, setting tone and style, the how. People actually confuse tone and style all the time, but they're very different things. Tone is the emotional flavor. It answers the question, what feeling should this response carry? Because without specifying a tone, remember, the AI just guesses and defaults back to that neutral encyclopedia. Style, on the other hand, is the mechanical structure. It's about the craft of the language itself, answering the question, how should these words actually be assembled on the page?
Just imagine the options you have here. For tone, you could go super enthusiastic, deeply empathetic, highly skeptical, or completely dry and clinical. For style, you could ask for a concise executive memo, a Socratic dialogue, straightforward bullet points, or, and I honestly love this one, a noir detective's internal monologue. And what's really, really fun is blending them. You could ask for a legal brief written in the style of a noir detective with a highly empathetic tone. Seriously, the weirder and more specific your combination, the more tailored and fascinating your results are going to be.
Which brings us to section 4, framing the perspective, the lens.
Perspective alters everything. A spatial frame changes what the AI literally sees. I mean, describing a flight from inside the cockpit is vastly different than describing it from the air traffic control tower. A temporal frame changes its hindsight. Are we 10 minutes after disaster or 10 years later? A philosophical lens, like asking the AI to analyze a business problem from a stoic perspective, completely focuses its priorities. And knowledge boundaries are just amazing. Telling the AI to respond as if you have never heard of the internet forces it into a strict, confined historical frame.
Building directly on that, we have the cognitive frame. This is essentially metacontext. It tells the AI what mental model to use before it even begins formulating the answer. For example, explicitly prompting, think like a systems thinker, focusing on interdependencies. You are telling the AI how to process and connect the information before it generates a single word.
Okay, section 5, the ultimate prompt. Let's bring all this together.
This brings us to a really incredible 5-step framework for engineering an effective prompt. Step 1 is your task. Have a clear defined goal using action words. But step 2, context. This is where everything we just learned gets injected. This is where you define your source speaker, your target audience, your tone, style, and perspective. Steps 3 and 4 involve setting boundaries or constraints and providing examples of what you want. And step 5 is iterate, because you can always refine your stage directions if the actor isn't quite hitting the mark. But injecting those 4 context pillars into step 2, that is what changes absolutely everything.
By mastering context, you finally stop settling for those robotic, average responses. You take control, you curate the knowledge, you set the emotional stakes, and you craft the exact format you need. You are officially in the director's chair. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder next time you open up your favorite chatbot. What stage directions will you give your AI next? Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this explainer, and happy directing.